Hi there, so today as part of the series of little videos we're doing for how to install a small stove into a van, an RV, a tiny home, a shepherd's hut, anything with a metal roof, we're going to be doing today a video on how to install a silicone boot flashing. Now these come in round or square and they have basically a malleable aluminium edge, which means that on something like a bit of wriggly tin, like on a shepherd's hut, you can contour the edge to fit the profile. So we'll show you how to do that. The first job obviously is to cut the hole in the metal itself, and a great way to do that as a guide is to use the trim plates that come in the kit. Obviously the internal hole is just a little bit larger than the flue pipe itself, so it's a perfect guide for cutting the hole in the metal, which obviously you'd like to be as tight as possible. If your roof's got a curve on it, then obviously your hole will be slightly elliptical, and thus you'll use this elliptical trim plate, and again it's a useful guide for marking out that initial hole. So along with the flashing comes a fixing kit, which includes a tube of silicone, some of the self-tapping fixings, and some little plastic caps that go on top of those fixings. So you've cut the hole in the roof of your van or your shepherd's hut, and you're ready to sort of offer up the silicone flashing. So the best way to trim it down is to, rather than cutting down on the silicone, which potentially will make a run, you want to insert your Stanley blade and sort of cut a ring off the top to the right size. So we've cut the flashing down to the correct pipe fitting, so it's a good tight seal on the pipe. And we've also marked it around the outer edge into 1/16ths. So we'll get 16 fixings all the way around. So once you've done that, you can obviously lift up the flashing and apply the silicone to the under edge, which comes in a little tube, and you'll just put a bead, sort of a wiggly bead, around the underside edge of the flashing itself. So, rather than installing the flashing on a simple flat bit of van roof, we're going to show you how to install it on a corrugated roof, which is obviously a little bit more challenging. So we've got the hole in the corrugated, we've got the pipe through the hole. Now we're going to offer over the flashing and use the malleable edge of the flashing to contour it around the profile of the wriggly tin. See, it's a good tight fit on the pipe, and you want that fit to be nice and tight. You can always add a little extra bead of silicone around that edge when you're done, just as an added extra layer of weather protection. So you form it around the profiles, squashing it into the little gaps. So the tool you'll need for this job is really just a good cordless screwdriver with an 8mm bit on the end, and the bag of tech screws, because they self-tap as you wind them in. No need to drill a hole, they just self-tap into the tin itself. There we go, there's a tech screw with a little rubber grommet washer. So the order to put your tech screws in, it basically is, if you imagine a clock face, you want to go 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then gradually fill in the segments as you go around until all of the screws are put in. And then you'll add on the plastic cover tops. As you can see, the malleable edge can contour its way around the profile. For the purposes of this video, we didn't apply the silicone under the edge of the flashing, because we'll potentially want to use it again rather than keeping it in this Caractacus pots type shed. But you want to do that process of putting that bead of silicone in. But as you can see, it forms nicely around the profile of the wriggly tin. So all of the tech screws are in. So if you've got some silicone left in the tube, you want to just apply a small bead around the top edge of the flashing itself, just as an extra layer of protection. And then also where you fix the little cap covers for the tech screws themselves, I like to put a little spot of that sealant on the top of each of the heads of them, or inside the cap of the cover, and then just push them on, and they're fixed on then good and proper. Right, so the only thing left to do now really is to put on the storm collar, which I like to incorporate in the system because it protects the silicone flashing from UV degradation. So we've got a storm collar which will pop over the top of the silicone flashing. Also, aesthetically, on a shepherd hut, it can look a lot nicer if you can cover that orange flashing with a, an aluminium plate, or a black one if you so desire. You can cut the edge of that, obviously. If you're on an angle, you can trim the tangent off of the storm collar itself. So again, I would put a small bead of silicone just around this edge again, just as an extra weather protection. And then the last thing you want to do, obviously this is a bit of a short flue, but in your flue needs to be 600mm above the roof, but you'll attach the rain cap, secure the locking band, and that's your silicone flashing nicely fitted. Thank you, Giles. So a useful addition to your van flue kit, especially because you're obviously bombing down the road, is a closure cap. So we include these in our van kits, and basically you can take off your rain cap where you might be going through lanes or something, or bombing down the motorway, and you don't want to run the risk of losing it. It spins off. There's also a clip, and obviously you can then replace that with the closure cap, and then obviously you know when you get there it's just a simple task of replacing the rain cap. You also might want to add an additional length on to get a better draw.